This man has never knocked nobody out cold. He's a bully. He's slow. He has no skill, no footwork. He's awkward. And I have been giving him a name. Because he fights. When he's fighting, if you ever watch him in the ring, he drags like that after his opponent. And how's the mummy gonna catch me?
And all I had to do was to go out and beat for a man who had no skill, no class. Seriously, the man had no skill. I don't know why the world is so foolish to believe in him and think that I wasn't gonna win.
Well, when you say you're ready to go to war right now,
I see that guy on the street, I beat him before the fight.
you'd actually take him on before the fight?
Beat him like I'm his daddy.
All the basketball players out there, football players, they want to beat so bad, they want to get everybody. I'll go to Mars, I don't care.
For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get ready to rumble!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Lights Out Debates, where we dare you to debate. And today we got a special one. We've got Hollywood Herm versus Dart, one and only. And so we've got so this is going to be a really, I think it's going to be really close as far as the amount of nuance it's required to win this debate, where we've got Oscar Robertson versus Bob Cousy. Who is greater? So obviously place your bets there. But let's meet our contestants here. Gentlemen, you want to introduce yourselves and what you hope to accomplish with this debate, how you hope to approach it. Go ahead, either order.
I believe, what's up, this Hollywood Herm? I believe this debate would teach a lot of guys a historical context of how great these two players were. I just think me and Dart, that's what we're going to try to do in this debate, just highlight the greatness of these two great players that was instrumental in the NBA. But my goal is to really just highlight why Oscar Robertson was that special and why he's still regarded as one of the best basketball players of all time to this day.
Yep. And for me, I think in this debate, I'm going to provide evidence at the very least to show how Bob Cousy is wildly underappreciated in today's NBA, even though he was in a lot of ways similar to Oscar Robertson and more successful. So I'm excited for this debate. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Awesome. So yeah, you heard it, guys. Two legends being debated on, and again, we're back to the who is greater. So a lot of substance going to be laid out here. So we're going to do the standard 3-minute rounds. You see the tail of the tape right there. And we've got not a newcomer to the debate, but newcomer to this channel. And hopefully he'll be a mainstay with us here. Hollywood Herm. You see the bio there. Herm has a fresh record here. Dart comes in with a sterling 2-0 record. And so we'll see if that holds up. So you see the info for the contestants here. And so obviously it's going to be anyone's game. And we'll see how we do it here. And then obviously we'll have some post-game fun. Generally, if I'm wrong, or if it's a newcomer, do they get to choose who goes first, or if they want to go first or second? How are we doing that today?
No, Herm's going first. I need it.
All right, go ahead there. So we're gonna go lead off with Hollywood Herm, and then obviously we'll have 3 minutes there for each contestant, and whenever we want to go ahead and do that. Do we have the clock up there, Dart, or do you want me to go ahead and?
I got the clock. It's behind you. So
okay.
Herm, there'll be a 10-second countdown, and then that's when the round will start, and you'll hear a 3, 2, 1 countdown and a bell ring, and that's when it's your time to go.
Yes, sir.
All righty. Travis will be backstage until it's time to judge.
Yep.
All righty. I'm going to start the timer.
Oscar Robertson was a greater basketball player due to the fact that he wasn't just better than Bob Cousy statistically. He redefined what a guard could be. And Oscar Robertson, he was just basically a hybrid guard before his time. He was the dominant scoring at all 3 levels. He was more efficient, 6'5", very athletic. He dominated the golden era of guards with guys like Jerry West, Walt Frazier, guys of that nature. But Bob Cousy, he really didn't face a lot of great competition due to the fact it wasn't a lot of integration in the game at the height of his career. Also, it wasn't that many teams, and with the league not really integrated at the time of Bob Cousy's height of his career, he didn't get to really face the elite competition like Oscar Robertson had faced. Also, Oscar Robertson, his first 5 years of his career, averaged a triple-double through his career. Probably one of the best 5-year starts in NBA history. Basically averaging 30, 10, and 10. And he was very efficient at that time as well, which was really wasn't a big thing at the time where Oscar Robertson and Bob Cousy were playing, because it was a very fast-paced game. So you really didn't have guys that was elite and scoring at all 3 levels, and that's what made Oscar Robertson different. Bob Cousy, he was great in his own right with being an elite passer, but he wasn't a great shooter. He wasn't comfortable. So if you was to translate how these guys would be in their era, you put Oscar Robertson in the 50s, he would dominate. You put Bob Cousy in the 70s, he most likely would be a backup due to a lot of weaknesses he had in his game. They both were pioneers, but the difference is that Oscar Robertson was a revolution. He changed the game of basketball. His game translated into today's NBA more than what Bob Cousy's game translated as well. When you look at team success, we understood that he was part of the Celtics and he had Bill Russell at disposal. But with Oscar Robertson, he was unfortunate that he had to deal with the Cincinnati, a team that held them hostage for all these years. They had to sue the NBA just to have an opportunity to go to another team. And he basically brought free agency into the NBA. If it wasn't for Oscar Robertson, we wouldn't have free agency today. So from that standpoint, Oscar Robertson not only changed the game because he was a hybrid guard, something that existed this day. He was basically the floor general. He was the term floor general before the term was even ever came up with. So
3, 2,
that's all I got this round.
So you're talking about Oscar Robertson being a floor general. Bob Cousy was really the definition of a floor general, and he was more so of a point guard than Oscar Robertson. And one example of that is the 6 seasons that he won an NBA championship. 4 of them, there were at least 5 players on his team that averaged at least 15 points for the regular season. And he had a fantastic team. But you talked about the Cincinnati Royals not having a great team. They still had Jerry Lucas, who was a 2020 player, an All-NBA first-team player. He was an absolute fantastic piece of that team. And one thing that you mentioned is that he dominated everyone, but one person he didn't dominate was Bob Cousy and the Boston Celtics, because when they faced off against each other, Bob Cousy and the Celtics were winning championships. So Bob Cousy also did face great competition like Joe Fulks, Tom Gola, amongst other guards during that time. And not to mention Oscar Robertson, let alone Jerry West and Elgin Baylor and other guys during that time, because they played in the league for 3 years together. So it was great. He was a great player, but a lot of the greatness defined by Oscar Robertson is due to his play style and then the stats behind it with the triple-double. Also, Bob Cousy was a great shooter. The field goal percentage may have been lower, but he was a top scorer in the league, and he was able to shoot from distance. So you talked about from all three levels. The three-point lane wasn't even in the game during the time that either of these guys played. So I don't understand how you can typically categorize him as a three-level scorer. If so, you got to do the same thing with Bob Cousy. But I want to define what greatness is. Greatness is defined as the ability, quality, eminence considered above the normal or average. And Bob Cousy meets the mark on all of them. And I described how Bob Cousy had more ability to be a better point guard in respect to how he was able to enable his team by making them score and then being a great scorer himself. And he was similar in respect to the production output as Oscar Robertson. It wasn't as prolific, but he was a top 30 rebounder in the league for most of his career as a guard, often leading the guards or point guards specifically and being a top 3 guard in that facet, let alone the assists, where he won 8 assist titles in a row. Now, Oscar Robertson didn't win as much. And on top of it, Bob Cousy was winning championships with that. So as I was talking about that, Bob Cousy has greater ability than Robertson because of the capability to enable his team through his assists and through his individual production.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's your turn.
All right, let's get it then. I didn't know we started. That's why I was waiting.
Okay, yeah, there's a bell that rings. It'll go off every 3 minutes.
Okay.
But you can go. I'll just stop the clock and give you some time.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, just go whenever you're ready.
All right, let's get it. Well, when you bring up the titles aspect, Cousy won more titles because he played with guys like Bill Russell, John Havlicek, Sam Jones, guys of that nature. And then he had one of the greatest coaches of all time, Ray Albeck. Oscar Robertson. Yes, you mentioned Jerry Lucas, but Jerry Lucas was nowhere near on the level of the teammates that Bob Cousy had. Once he finally was given a superstar teammate, he won, and that was late in his career. That wasn't even in his prime. But to get off of the championship aspect, because championships don't always define how great an individual is. You gotta look at it. Oscar Robertson was historical. First player in NBA history to average a triple-double in the season in 1961 and 1962. He also, at the time, had the record for the most assists in the single season with 899. No player in the 5-year stretch ever put up 30, 10, and 10 in NBA history to this day. And then with no three-point line, yes, you brought up the fact there was no three-point line, but even then, that was deadly for a guard to shoot 48% at a time in the era that was very fast-paced, where the guys that wasn't very efficient when efficiency was the big thing in the game with the fast-paced era that those guys came through. So you got to look at guys that he outperformed. He outperformed guys like Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Bill Russell statistically. Oscar Robertson was overshadowing all those guys. But the thing that is overlooked when it comes to Oscar Robertson is that he just as good as a playmaker as Bob Cousy. 9.5 assists for his career compared to Bob Cousy 7.5. Despite of him not having the fluctuation of great teammates that Bob Cousy was enabled to, because for 1957 and 1963, the Boston Celtics were dominating the league because they was the most talented team. Because that franchise alone was able to get the top picks, were able to, to get over on teams with trades and things of that nature to get the talent that they got. The Cincinnati team never had the opportunity to get those type of players due to the fact that the Celtics that was they was gonna make sure that Cincinnati never got those guys. But when we look at it. But when we look at it, even later in Oscar Robertson's career, he still was averaging 25, 9 to 7, going against the Walt Fraziers, going against the John Havliceks. And Oscar game was built more for the modern era rather than Bob Cousy that was more built for the black and white era. Flash doesn't beat function.
Three,
Oscar Styles aged
two,
well.
one.
Cousy didn't.
So you talked about flash doesn't beat function. I absolutely agree, and that's what led to the 6 championships on the Boston Celtics while Bob Cousy was there. You said that championships don't define how great somebody was for everyone, but it does with Bob Cousy because he was an MVP. He was the season-wide assist leader 8 times in his career, 8 times in a row, only second to John Stockton in total across NBA history. And they were the most dominant team in the league, in large part because of Bob Cousy. And Bill Russell credited him as being the leader of the team in respect to when he first got there. He was considered the captain of the team. And then you're talking about Oscar Robertson, about how great he was. He did have, again, I mentioned that he had Jerry Lucas, but he only made, when he was on the Cincinnati Royals, the playoffs 6 out of 10 times, which is utterly horrid when a lot of those years, 3 out of the 4 teams that were in his division would go to the playoffs. So how do you explain that? And especially having somebody like a Jerry Lucas on his team, and he was missing the playoffs with Jerry Lucas on his team. But Bob Cousy was a better quality player than Oscar Robertson, which quality is the degree to which an object or entity satisfies a specified set of attributes. And this is identified through the success someone helps bring to their team. So with Bob Cousy, he outperformed in respect to the regular season percentage. He won 5% more over his entire career versus Oscar Robertson. And again, as mentioned, he has 6 championships in comparison to Oscar Robertson's 1. Now, Oscar Robertson teamed up with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and even at that time when Kareem was a rookie, he was still lauded as one of the best players in the league. He obviously, in hindsight, became one of the best players, greatest players of all time. And he still only won 1 championship with him when they still had guys like Bob Dandridge. And you mentioned about the Cincinnati Royals, about the coaching. Well, Bob Cousy was a coach of Oscar Robertson, and he was a great player. Maybe not a coach, but I just want to put that in there. With that said, I know that the quality of Bob Cousy's production and for the purpose of basketball to win championships and be a large impact on your team is evident throughout his career. And with that said, Bob Cousy is a more quality player than Oscar Robertson because he was able to get it done for where it mattered.
1.
Well, we know when it comes to these stats, when it comes to advanced analytics, we know Oscar Robertson rushed the floor with Bob Cousy. PER 23.2, win shares at 0.179, and value over replacement 94.2. We know Cousy's value over replacement not available, but PER was 17.7 and win shares at 0.100. But when you keep bringing up the team aspect into this individual greatness conversation, when we look at it, Oscar Robertson only played with Jerry Lucas for 6 years. You must have forgot how horrific the Cincinnati was. They traded Jerry Lucas, and I forgot the other guy that they traded, but they traded their two best players, so they had a horrific front office. So that explains why Cincinnati couldn't compete on a regular basis. And then not only you had to go through the Boston Celtics, you still had to go through the 76ers when they had Wilt Chamberlain and those boys with the Sixers. So um, they didn't have the big man that could compete with Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain, so that was the difference. And he had a superstar cast. The Celtics had nothing but Hall of Famers on their roster, so you can't act as if Bob Cousy was the best player year in and year out for the Celtics. And he wasn't. Outside of 1957, Bob Cousy was never the best player on the Celtics again after 1957. It was basically Bill Russell's team, and it was others, Sam Jones and others that was carrying the Celtics and leading them to the promised land. It wasn't because of no damn Bob Cousy. But when you look at Oscar Robertson, if he was afforded the opportunity to play with a better franchise, to play around better talent, you saw what he did. Not even at his best, he won instantly soon. He was brought around a great talent, brought around an all-time great player in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, which was Lou Alcindor at the time. But when we look at it, we know statistically it's not even close. When we look at the skill wise, it's not even close. When you look at being efficient, it's not even close. When you look at being a transcendent guard, it's not even close. Oscar Robertson elevated guys that you see the Jason Kidds, you see the Magic Johnsons, you see the Gary Paytons, the big guards. The big point guards were basically started with Oscar Robertson. The hybrid guard was started due to Oscar Robertson. To this day, you can see Oscar Robertson's game will flourish in today's league because his style still exists. Bob Cousy's style don't exist anymore. We give him credit that in the 50s and the 40s, in the 50s that you was the face of the NBA. That's cool. But at the same time, because you was the face of the NBA in the 50s, doesn't mean that you the one of the greatest guards of all time.
So it absolutely does mean he was one of the greatest guards of all time in the 50s and the 60s. He dominated the 50s as a decade. So if you're going to take that away from that, well, why don't you just take it away from Oscar Robertson? You got to be fair across all time, especially with that length of time. And skill-wise, it is close. And you're talking because of how Bob Cousy was able to enable his teammates, which it seems to me and you, particularly with a lot of other people as well, try to overinflate or overcompensate how great Bob Cousy's teammates were individually. It was a great team. And you mentioned Hall of Famers. Hall of Famers is a hindsight award. The reason why they're Hall of Famers is predominantly because they won those championships with Bob Cousy, with Bill Russell, and that they were on a fantastic team. And Bob Cousy is a transcendent guard. He was the first guy to bring in flashy passing in the league, integrate the fast break offense into the league, which is still prevalent in a lot of teams today, just transition offense, pushing the ball down the court. And the point guard style itself, it's lost a lot of its value in respect to the hybrid part of it, but it has been widely used across the entire history of the NBA. And so if you want to compare these guys, let's look at some of these awards. So Bob Cousy had 10 first-team All-NBAs in comparison to Oscar Robertson's 9. So he still outperformed them, even though Oscar Robertson was so fantastical with all these stats, even though he still got on the team with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar near the end of his career and on the Cincinnati Royals, Bob Cousy still had more first-team All-NBAs. And he also had more All-Stars. He had one more All-Star than Oscar Robertson. So if he was so fantastic, how was he not getting these awards as much as Oscar Robertson getting these awards as much as Bob Cousy? And then just across all time, his impact is equally as strong in respect to the influence he's had over the league as a point guard in comparison to Oscar Robertson because of guys like Magic Johnson, Jason Williams, and just any point guard that does a no-look pass or does any sort of fancy movement on the fast break. You can directly attribute that to Bob Cousy because who did it before him? You can't give me an answer, I promise you that. So with all of that said, Bob Cousy has greater eminence than Oscar Robertson due to that. And that's focusing on his icon and his influence on and off the court. And Bob Cousy, as I've described, has greater ability. He's got greater quality, and he's got greater eminence. He's just greater than Oscar Robertson.
Okay. I mean, that was a knockdown, drag-out debate filled with a lot of fantastic points. I think that was, I think one of the debates I've heard, especially when you're talking about two icons from around the same time frame. Like, this is, I think, where the debates always get spicy. Two guys playing heads up generally, or at least the same area. So, yeah, that was a fantastic debate. Obviously, we have in the chat agreeing here. So, this was a hard one to actually break down because there was a lot of facts and figures flying out from both contestants, and a lot of nuance too. That's what I was looking for specifically. People to go down there, to kind of latch on to the strengths of both players. So, round one, I thought was the most competitive round as far as the foundation being laid there for both players, and what style are the contestants going to bring? Like, how are they going to debate this? Like, lay the foundation, lay the groundwork. Who's going to do that strongest? I thought so. Dart talked about how Cousy was a fantastic actual point guard. He fulfilled that specific job. He talked about how that led in a lot of ways directly to how he enabled his teammates. They talked about the winning titles, and how Bob Cousy did a lot of things as far as just fulfilling that aspect of a job, and how that really led to in a lot of ways that imminent Celtics dynasty, and how he was a key cog of that. Herm obviously countered and led off with how Oscar Robertson laid the foundation for how dominant statistically he was. He talked about the best 5-year start in NBA history. Led off with basically triple-double, changed the game in a lot of ways, and how his game would translate to today's league. Talked about that well, and that's, I think, would be kind of a rarity if you just dropped a stat line and said, hey, you know what, this is his style and whatnot. So we talked about that. I thought was good. Talked about how Oscar Robertson pioneered floor general to a degree, free agency. Talked about this. So for the first round, I did give it to Dart just because of how he did emphasize a little bit of how his player was a little bit greater as far as he talked about eminence and whatnot, as far as his being an actual point guard, how he was consistently dominant in the league, assist titles, and how he was basically the engine of the greatest dynasty of all time. And to start off, he crammed a lot into 3 minutes here. Now, round 2 and 3 were also drag down battles. Round 2, obviously, Herm was talking about how Cousy did have the team championships. I like where he said championships do not necessarily define greatness, because there's a ton of context there, especially sustained greatness, because you do have to have a lot to go into. You do have to have a lot of things go right, especially, like I said, sustained greatness for 2, 3, 4 years, especially when you're talking about 11 championships in 12, 13 years. So obviously Cousy wasn't a part of every one of those, but that all takes O-Rob. We talked about O-Rob's statistical production, how that dwarfs Cousy's. He went 30-10-10 over a 5-year stretch, only player ever to do that. He really went into the weeds about how he was amazing statistically, outperformed. And I think what was key here, he said he was outperforming he cuts upon his competition, which was almost insane. He was winning an MVP while you guys had statistical giants like Will and Bill Russell in there. And that one to me was key. He obviously, a lot of ways, he matched and bettered Cousy's production he was talking about. And he was even more consistent statistically later on than someone like Cousy there, like longer in his career. Dart obviously was also talking about, he countered how Cousy was better statistically, had far better success. He went along the lines of, he stated about, how Cousy was, again, talked about how he was eminent, and he put quality over necessarily just raw stats. and he was winning consistently. He was part of the best team all the time. He was enabling his teammates to do that. But I did think that as far as just the argument of who was greater, I think that I did give the round to Herm because of the fact that he did go ahead and emphasize how O-Rob was just a dominant force and how he was greatness, especially like compared to his competition. And Cousy obviously talked about the winning aspect, and that was mainly what was focused on that round, which is great. But I think that Herm was emphasizing the main difference between the two players, and was how Cousy or O-Rob was maybe the far more dominant basketball player as far as his ability and consistency. And so I did give that round to Herm just because felt like he was able to explain that, and kind of went away from just the team aspect here. Round 3 I thought was great as well. I was looking for a few things. Herm did talk about how I thought this was one of Herm's best rounds ever because he was talking about analytics. I didn't expect to jump out with analytics. I thought that would have been a first round type of thing where he talked about analytics or whatnot, but he did talk about how Rob is one of the best analytic players of all time, better than Cousy. But it's how one of the more damning things I thought it was about how he talked about, and I was waiting for this, about how Cousy wasn't even necessarily the best player on his own team which I thought is a fair point. And even though he was, you could argue, was the best engine, but I thought that he also put in the point that O-Rob excelled once he immediately won a championship once he excelled with Kareem. And this was later on in his career, as he pointed out here, once he had a comparable team, not even comparable, but just one all-star or one superstar guy, he immediately won. Obviously, it wasn't to the same tune, but and so, and then he finished up with a flourish where it was, emphasizing again just how statistically better or more dominant than O-Rob was, not just than Bob Cousy, but generally to a lot of his contemporaries. And I think that actually entails to a lot of what greatness is, not specifically team success, but how much better are you than production wise? What are the circumstances around that? How do you affect the game? Things like that. Dart also talked about in round 3 very well. Also, how he enabled his teammates. I love the point how Dart had set a counter where what Herm said about how his team was loaded with Hall of Famers. But again, that is a hindsight award where they're not just Hall of Famers when they get drafted or on the team, but that is accomplished generally by a number of things. Their statistical dominance, their winning, especially things like that. But I feel like even though that was a fantastic point and counter, I feel like that the rest of the round didn't really offset the statistical dominance and the overall just eminence of the career as far as how O-Rob was just, again, that much better as far as production, overall dominance of the game. Especially because Herm did point out there that he was also doing exactly what Bob Cousy was doing, leading the league in assists multiple times, almost to the same tune, but also being the best player on the team, like front to center, and being dominant across all the time, statistically, not just for his era. And he pointed out that because he really couldn't. He was talking about quality over. He said he was a more quality player, but didn't really build on that as far as I think enough to offset that. So I did give the round and the debate to Herm. So very, very close. It's tough but I feel like that was one of the closer debates that I've ever had a part of, been tasked to judge. But I think in the end, O-Rob's just sheer breadth of his career statistically and, to a degree, but offsets that. But fantastic debate by both individuals, and obviously we'll get thoughts here.
Salute. It was a great debate, though. It was a great debate for sure.
Yeah, I thought I did enough to win. Travis is the judge, and he interpreted that I didn't do as well. But I think it was a fantastic debate. I've got the 1 on my record now. I was the Floyd Mayweather of lights out debates with my stellar 2-0 record, but now I've got a 1. So I've got the 1. It's terrible. But yeah, Herm, I think it's a fantastic argument just to have in general, and I think that Bob Cousy is just wildly underappreciated across all time. So thanks for coming to debate.
Anytime, brother. Anytime.
And please come back. And if you want, I can change your Pee Wee Herman picture when you come back in the future if you provide me a picture.
I'll send you another picture for sure. But yeah, I do think a lot of people don't appreciate Bob Cousy. But one thing I do know, if people do follow Bob Cousy, understand Bob Cousy will even tell you himself, like, he knew how much he meant to the game, but at the same time, he understands that, man, how a lot of these guards they end up coming after him. He would tell himself that he wasn't as talented, but when it comes to the impact of the NBA, he was very impactful. He did jumpstart the league basically, and he did bring a positive light to the game though. So you got to give him credit for that, and he is played with one of the best organizations of all time in Boston, so you got to give him credit for that. And people do need to respect him and give him his just due. He can't control what era he was in, but he damn sure controlled how his legacy should be viewed. So we got to give Bob Cousy his just due.
Absolutely. Herm, are you able to hang out for a bit? We got King's Speech Row in the back. I know you said you got something to do.
I got about another 5 minutes. So I'm interested to see what he about to say.
All right. King's Speech Row, welcome. How do you think this debate went?
Well, fortunately, I was waiting for it, and then I just heard the end. I heard your last round, and I was able to hear Herm's first round. But if I get the gist of what you guys were arguing, you started off. Your end off basically said that Cousy was the first creative playmaker of his kind, right? Like he was like the first showman and all that, and that's really a good point. I think a lot of us kind of think that Oscar was the Big O was the better player. Therefore, you had the taller task of creating, basically explaining the greatness. And I thought you did a good job from what I heard. Again, I got to go back and listen because I wasn't able to get on live. I was waiting, and then next thing you know, Travis hit me up telling me that it was going on, so I was able to catch up. But it's a good, definitely an interesting topic because you probably do have the first two great playmakers, point guards and then pretty much everybody else got these two the thing, as far as guards go. And so
yeah. And one thing I want to do is we're making obviously concerted effort to have more than one judge up here going forward. I think that'll be one of the focuses is throughout the week we'll try to get a group of people who can be versatile and counted on to.
If we can get a panel of 5, I think that would be cool.
Yeah, something like because we have we have chat, like we'll reach out. We're in contact with several people, and so I'm going to try to make sure that, but just so we have a little bit more diversity in our way of thinking here. And hey, like aircraft carrier, that's good. We're not an echo chamber over here, man. Aircraft carrier, and we invite different perspectives, ways of thinking, opinions. Like if you ever wanted to come on and judge or debate yourself, that's fantastic. That's what we're aiming to do. Is get more involvement. Exactly. And like I said, we're not gonna censor you or shut you down because of what you say. So that's good. I don't want everyone to agree with what I say.
Yeah, exactly. Because me and Travis, and I thought I was judging today. That's why I was waiting to hear from Travis to get the link. But I was listening either way, and then next thing you know, so that's the thing with Facebook. And I know you guys started a little bit later after 11. I mean, not Facebook, but YouTube. They don't re-notify you when the stream is actually live.
I slept through my alarm.
Yeah, and I get it, bro. I get it.
The algorithm run crazy though. You
Yeah, I
know,
know. I heard is that. That's why I always try to start. But you know, this is real life, and people have things
Yeah.
happen, and then you could be at 11:07. I'm there at 11:07. Next, thing you know, I click out into something else, and then Facebook is not. YouTube is not telling me, "Hey, the stream is live. Come and watch it." But no, it's again. I think it's part of even debate. I don't. I, I could tell me and Travis have different styles of the way we look at things, which is why it's probably good for us to between that and you could always do the audience poll too as the third. As people watching and
I ain't gonna say this though, and a lot of people do got to put it to account. The debates be more interesting when you focus on the greater aspect. When you do the better, you can
Yeah.
kind of get a clear cut indication on who will probably win that debate. But when it comes to greater, that's a different nuance that will make certain debates like this very difficult to judge or very difficult to get an understanding who separates themselves in a debate. Because when it comes to greater, Bob Cousy could beat a lot of people just off the word great alone. So
for sure, for sure.
a lot of people got to understand the difference between better and greater. And so if a lot of people think, oh man, this shouldn't even be a debate, when it comes to being greater, it is a debate because Bob Cousy has an argument with any player in any era when it comes to being greater. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So people do got to understand that aspect and understand
yeah,
those type of debates are more dangerous than what people really realize.
yeah.
Yeah, just to kind of sum it up for you here, Ruby, it was a fantastic. I mean, obviously you'll go back and watch it later, but I thought it was a great debate. I think it's always hard, especially when you have seasoned veteran debaters in here. And I don't think there was a. I think there's a lot of times where like people are debating and you can see like you can point to a round that was weak or something, or that they were maybe floundering or something. I don't, and obviously there was. I don't think that existed here, and both guys were kind of illustrating their point of
It could have went either way. It could
yeah,
have.
it could have been where they were just going by. They made fantastic arguments for both guys, and so it was really really hard to kind of sift through it and come up to and so. But yeah, man, that's why we invite. But I thought it was a great debate, one of the better ones.
Yeah, sure. Definitely better than our 4 hour shout fest.
Well,
No, I was looking. That's yeah. Herm was in on it again. We went all over the place, man. But that's what happens when it comes to comparing these players because again, look, Cousy. Here's what you can say about Cousy. If you equate the starting point guard to the starting quarterback, well, who has more championships as a starting point guard than Bob Cousy? Doesn't he have 6 or 7?
He's
He got
got
six.
he's
He
got
got
6.
he got
He's got
six.
6. So there's nobody with Magic having 5. I can't name another starting point guard that has more championships than Bob Cousy. And that's just a fact. So, Jason Kidd, we had a lot of great guards. And again, Cousy was the first guy, like at a point where they didn't like that creativity and the crossover and the dribbling and the behind the back passes and the wizardry that Cousy provided his team. He had to do that. He had to break the mold. So he is a mold breaking player, and his greatness should be respected in that manner. You know.
So this is not an excuse by me, but I couldn't find where to type my notes and rebuttals for about half the round. I lost where all my stuff was, and I kind of got a little flustered because I also should have prepared a little bit better. That's
Yeah.
that's on me for that because but that I did not know where my note sheet was. It was
Now what you could add to the tail of the tape when you do the tail of the tape, like debate
I
stop.
forgot some of my counters too midway through. I was like, damn, I forgot what I really
Yeah.
was. Cause I knew you was gonna emphasize on the winning aspect, but I forgot
Yeah.
some of my counters as well with the winning aspect of it, and I was like, damn. But I'm glad I had enough to get by. But I forgot some of mine midway through. I was like, damn. But
Yeah.
When you do the tail of the tape, do you put debate style?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody, okay, yeah, everybody, yeah. I know that I'm more of a rebuttalist than I am
I had to
you know,
surprise Travis a little bit, man. Travis didn't think I was gonna use stats, man. I had to surprise Travis a little bit.
yeah. See,
No,
you got to.
I knew you were stats. I just didn't think you were going to bust out analytics, and that was impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I hate with the Cousy though, you couldn't really measure his value over replacement because of the
Yeah.
era he was in. But outside of that, though, we got everything else outside of that value over replacement. But that was the only thing.
Well, that was a great round, but there was so tomorrow I'm going to be debating CW, or I'm
Not the casual.
next week. Yeah, it's casual. So CW's the
Yeah.
week after.
What's the debate?
So debate Urban is going to be what top 10 alpha had the most help during their championship runs.
Woo, boy. Can I get in on
And
this?
so, I mean, you can watch. You sure as hell can't judge it.
See.
We already know what you're going to say.
We need judges, Travis.
I'll judge that one.
No, because Travis thinks I'm not. No, but Travis,
if you think you can be,
hold on.
set aside your Magic Johnson bias because I'm arguing for Magic Johnson.
Hey, Travis, I like you more than casual. So let's keep it real. I actually go at both of you. I go at the both.
I definitely disqualify you then.
No, I'm just no. But for real, I could definitely be fair, but I think because I love the help argument, and again, I'm actually my show on is gonna be a lot about this help thing because I think again.
Shit.
Now already, I'm gonna let you guys know, right? We talk about 80s and 90s, but I titled it Legacy Series Part 4. But he had Scotty is the worst phrase in NBA history. He had Scotty because that's where it all began, where we get into this help thing. And that's the thing I think we need to understand. We need to put it in proper perspective. What is help? What is help when it comes to, because at the end of the day, you need help to win. But then, obviously we start judging help like it's a bad thing.
King Ro. I'm going to give you a gem, King Ro. I'm going to tell you a guy that people will sleep on when it comes to getting the most help. Shaquille O'Neal, probably a guy that has some of the most help in NBA history.
Sure did.
Oh no, I've always said like Shaq's up there when I'm talking about that. But
but we have a double header tomorrow too because I'm going to be debating NNB sports. Who's greater? It's outside of basketball. Hulk Hogan or Stone Cold Steve Austin?
What time are you doing that?
That's a tough one now. That's a tough one.
That is. Is that before or after mine there?
I don't care the order. You should probably be the headline since it's basketball.
Well, I told Casual we're doing it at noon Eastern, so it's 9 a.m. my time. So,
okay, you can start. I don't care. Like however you want to do it.
And when the debate is happening again?
Tomorrow.
So it's they start tomorrow at 9. I'm not sure where you are, but it's noon Eastern.
Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah,
11 Central. It was. I was asking you to come to that one.
I'll be there because I don't have nothing going on Monday.
Okay.
So I'll be
there. And Herm, you and Ro here are welcome to be judges. I trust in Ro's ability to be impartial and fair. So yeah, man, because obviously we're not going to turn down willing and active judges.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you guys want to show up there,
you don't want to
because we need them.
I try to see what guys I can round up to because like I said, we get at least 5. I think that will make it a great panel to judge that debate.
Yeah, I mean for sure it's you guys, and then I'm not sure if obviously I'm not going to pretend I'm going to be able to judge the wrestling one because I don't know show wrestling, but like. Maybe we can get a Rex. I don't know, but if you guys show up, that would be great. And then maybe we can do like if no one else is there, we can do like a poll or something. But
I
we'll
think
do
for
that.
sure I make it get Age 30. If you know Age 30, I make it get him to judge.
We know
Age 30.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe if J-Dub wants to get in there, whoever, man.
Mm-hmm. We gonna try to make that happen. But salute to you guys, man. I gotta go on in to work. Man, and Dart, it's a pleasure, bro. We could do it again. We could debate again. I like these type of debates, especially when we talking about the golden era, because you got to consider the 50s and 60s. Is that the golden era of basketball, man? So I would like to cook in that type of era again, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just working on the historical part of basketball. So I would love to do that again.
Yeah. Are you
absolutely? I gotta get my. I can't get my O back, but I gotta get one from you. So,
who are you guys? As far as that goes, are you texting Herm? You know, is it like how are you communicating? I just want to make sure Herm's in the loop here.
Oh yeah, me and Dart been texting in the Discord as well, because I appreciate Dart for working out with the time with me too. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate that most definitely. So yeah, we had communicated, man, and we both compromised as much as we could to get this debate going. So I appreciate it, man. So
absolutely.
Sure. All right, and I know I got you on Discord, so.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to tomorrow for sure. Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold, and we got the superstar with the most help in NBA. I love this.
See that? That's an interesting. See, I like interesting debates because it's conceptual, and really there really no right answer. And then it's like, okay, well, we can go a lot of different ways there because So it's like a conceptual debate where you don't even have one. I mean, we all know
the players are going to be
most.
The players are going to be. I'm arguing that was Matt Johnson. He is taking Larry Bird.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So
that'll be.
Aircraft Carrier says, "Why am I admitting defeat?" I think I won that debate, but the thing is that Travis was the authority, and he said I didn't. So
thank you. We all think we win our debates.
Yeah, Aircraft Carrier. That's what it takes to be a functional society, dude. Like you can't rage against the machine. Like there are plenty of debates, especially on my other channels that I thought that I destroyed people, and I didn't get the verdict. So you can't just sit there and whine about it.
When I beat Travis, I went and saw what Dart did. When I beat Travis on FYF, I went and watched a couple of Dart's debates against Travis, and then I kind of took that style over there, and then when we throw for a loop when we had 2-minute rounds. So I realized I had to come with it faster. Actually, probably helped me to finally get a W against Travis.
2-minute rounds,
bro. Listen,
but
listen.
Lie to the end. No. And Aircraft Carrier, I'm not a GJK guy anymore, so you can't hold that against me. But no, I mean, obviously, no one's gonna be like, "Hey, yo, totally, I got out." I mean, regardless, you just take it and you move along because we're professionals here, right? So, I mean,
and you got to realize who's judging. That's the thing. You got to realize who's judging and what they value and all. Remember, I told you guys, like, right, you do teams. Please lay out the team. Don't just tell me, oh, the star and everybody else played around them like as if they're just, it's like a good movie. Good movie is the star, obviously, right? Eddie Murphy, Tom Cruise. But who's the supporting cast? Sometimes the co-stars make the movies, like Superman I just saw. Yeah, they said this is the best Lois Lane since Margot, right? Then Mr. Terrific, I thought this was the best Lex since Gene Hackman. I actually thought, you know what I'm saying? So when it comes to a team, really tell me who the stars is. We know the stars, but the supporting cast is what makes it a great team. I'm using another analogy. Travis knows I like analogies, but he hates how to use them.
I mean, anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought I did enough to win a debate, but I'm not going to sit there and rage against it. But and again, Herm's pointing to that was him, but he was the authority on that debate. See, so regardless of what I think, we just take our decision and move along and try to improve on our styles. So,
hey, Aircraft Carrier, how old are you? You don't know Gene Hackman was the original Lex Luthor in the original 1978 Superman?
Still the best one.
But I like this one. He is the best one since. This one is and we've had some good Lex Luthers. But he's the best one since this guy.
Have we? I think all the Lex Luthors were shit, except for I think Michael Rosenbaum Smallville was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But
hey, we can have a superhero movie debate too, right?
yes, we can. We're looking to expand. But anyway, Herm did that, but he gave us his final thoughts there. I thought he was a great. We previewed tomorrow, and obviously we talked about how we're going to have some show. So I guess we might as well announce it. Fridays, I'm looking to do it this Friday. I'm going to have a segment similar to what I was doing on GGK, but expanded, where I sit down and have one or two topics that I will debunk. Takes, bad takes, opinions, things like that I can really sit down and carve out and hopefully get some audience interaction. Whoever wants to join me obviously can as well. That'll be like a personal segment that we're trying to do here. Dart is still going to do his thing, probably with Rex, normally on Saturdays. Eric Rector, to answer your question, I left GJK because it really became, you could argue it always was, but it really became just pigeonholed into nothing but pro LeBron, anti Mike topics and discussions every single, and even off the air and like in our personal chat. That's what we were instructed to do. We couldn't do anything else. We were punished if we were try to be at least even display a semblance of unbiasedness or whatever, if that's even a word. But like, if we try to be fair, we couldn't do that. It just wasn't for me. I didn't sign up to just glaze one person the entire time and discredit someone else. We got away from just actual sports and basketball in general. And I can do it. I mean, no hard feelings, everyone there. They can do whatever they want, but that was not fun for me. Even though, I mean, regardless of my opinions on the guys, it's just not fun to do the same exact thing every single day, every single time. We need variety, and we need to be not just echo chambers, which is what we were. And that's it. So
and that's what they feel they need. I tried to watch. I couldn't even last night. I tried to watch the Exposer. I was exhausted.
No,
I was like, I didn't have the brain power to even do it. Like I heard Warren Boy and Johnny going, and after a minute I turned it off. So sometimes I like, as we know, sometimes you get hate watchers. I get hate watchers. I get your boy Economy, who's the Lamont slurper, coming in and hating. I said, pull up, Economy, come on. If Travis is here, we go for 4 hours. You could come on in for 20 minutes, but no, you can't do it without Lamont. So okay, cool. You need a Lamont cosign. Hey, Lamont. The crazy part is Lamont comes to my stream more than his supporters do. So it is what it is.
Yeah. And you're right, Eric. We had different characters on there. Like I like King John and Craig, but King John was kind of. I love him. He's great. I think he's getting more into the LeBron type of swing things. But I mean, it really was just like we didn't control the content and we didn't control like the narratives, and that was what we were really instructed to do. And once it becomes like an authoritarian regime where we're not allowed to really say our true opinions about people, that's when you kind of got to dip out. So that's what I decided to do. No hate, clean break, no fanfare. But here it's like a lot more diverse. We can do whatever we want. That's what we're trying to do. So Dart, Dart knows that. That's what we're aiming for.
Yeah, the one thing too, the question is when is the Rex podcast? It's usually right now. Rex has work today though, so we can't do it today. But it's usually Saturdays at noon Eastern. Learn the Game podcast, where you figure out if you earn an F for effort in respect to your basketball knowledge and their NBA history. So, and then we're also starting these shorts where we're doing collaborations, and we're gonna start cutting promos with these collaboration shorts where we see a take that we don't like, particularly on our show, and then we go and we rebut to it to promote upcoming debates. So check that out too. It might come up on your shorts feed, or if you just want to look at the channel, you should be able to see that for promotional value. We're going to continue the Tale of the Tape amongst other things. We're going to expand the debates as discussed earlier. We're trying to expand some of the topics and have more people come through. So trying to grow this thing. It's going to get there. We're going to be big, bigger, longer, and uncut like South Park.
Absolutely.
But hey guys, I'm going to get going. It's 6 a.m. here, so I'm going to try and get some sleep. But Travis,
right.
are you staying on, or do you want to shut this thing down?
No, man, we'll call it a wrap here. Just short and sweet debate there, so people can get their views in here. And yeah, thanks for showing up there. Obviously, yeah, you can show up to judge tomorrow. As one of the judges there, it'll be at noon Eastern time, and that should be a good one tomorrow. And obviously, look out for next week's content.
Sounds good. I'll see if I can get into a debate soon enough because everybody seems like get a lot of challenges though. But
Yeah,
I want my W back
time
too.
slots. Yeah, we're gonna start scheduling these things like weeks out at a time because we've got people signing up. So
cool. All right, guys. Y'all have a good one.
All right, man.
Goodbye.